Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. It's afternoon for me down here in Miami. Um, so thanks for joining. Just getting myself set up for the platform here. I'll take that off for now. Um, we love engagement and interaction, so let us know that you're hearing everything okay, or let us know where you're streaming from. This is going to YouTube, LinkedIn. You can be on StreamYard directly, X. So trying to broadcast far and wide. Oh, cool. We got folks all over the world. Thank you. Great. Good. I like to see the networking. That's another great thing to get out of these webinars. So, all right. One thing I want to do is a little bit of housekeeping before. We recently launched a Discord for Teal, and it's really meant to be a positive place to help folks in the job search, but also for us to be able to speak more directly with you as users and help in the job search, and also for you guys to help each other as a community. So Emily will put a link to that. We do have like an application process. It's mainly just so that we can keep it a positive, happy place, and so spammers don't get in their Discord. That is kind of like one of the risks with Discord. So it's not. There's no criteria other than like you being, kind and wanting to be there. So everyone's allowed in. And there's already some great folks in there giving us tons of feedback. So yeah, take a look at that. I will try to prioritize fielding the questions in there, kind of a little bit of a way to get some more activity in there. So actually, let me bring the Discord up as well so I can have that here on my side. We're not streaming to the Discord. There's a way to do that, but I forgot to do that. So next one will be streamed to the Discord. I think we can do it from stream to YouTube, which YouTube can then go to Discord. All right, cool. So the way I generally run these, this is a very hands-on webinar. I kind of run through Teal and how to use Teal. It's a little less of like sort of job search strategy if you've been to one of Bogdan's webinars with us. But I can field any more job search strategy questions. I kind of try to use Teal as the interface by which we can have that discussion. But all the tactics that I share, you could do with another job searching tool. You can do with a pad and paper, messenger pigeon, like, however you'd like. It just kind of gives me a framework to talk about things. So with that, and I usually like take a beat like every 10 to 15 minutes and answer questions to break it up. But please engage, in the chat, ask questions, and then I'll get to them. All right, so let's go ahead and kick things off. Let me move this down here. Okay, cool. Everyone's seeing my screen and seeing me all right? All right, great. Seems like, all right, great. So, all right, we're going to talk through the entirety of the job search process. And I think the most important thing to do when you kick off your job search process is a little bit of go slow to go fast. I sometimes see people want to just jump right into it and be productive and start applying to jobs. And sure, you can do that, but then you might get yourself in a little bit of the rat race of job searching. And so I think looking at jobs, not necessarily to apply, but with a little bit of an understanding of the market and doing a little bit of market research. And I like what the Never Search Alone guys, Phil Terry says, like candidate market fit. Think of it as like product market fit. And it helps you understand, kind of how you want to present to yourself to the market and doing a little bit of that prep work, getting your LinkedIn in good place, building up your master resume. So let's go ahead and start with looking at jobs. And yeah, I'm using Teal for all of this. You can do this on LinkedIn. You can do it on Indeed. You can do it in lots of different places. But I think using job filters as a way to understand what the market wants is a really good thing. And job titles, obviously, if you want to do that, you can do that. I do use a transcription tool. So if you see me like talking to the computer, I'm not crazy. I use a thing called Whisperflow. I love it. I highly recommend it. I'm dyslexic and I don't type well. Senior product manager. Oh, Whisperflow is not turned on. I just restarted my computer. So let's get that. In this case, let's go ahead and get that in here. Senior product manager. Right, and we'll search for those. And this is a quick way to do it. You can look at these jobs. What I would do is go to these responsibility sections and understand what they're looking for. Read them and make sure you have these. A lot of times you can use JDs almost like as a questionnaire to be like, do I have this on my resume? Because I think a lot of us take for granted what our capabilities are and what we've actually done, because we sort of trivialize our excellence in a way. And using JDs and saying, hey, is that on my master resume, is a great way to go through this kind of like exploratory process on yourself. And if you've documented everything you've ever done. So what I would then do is I would start to bookmark these jobs. Go ahead and save them. And you're not necessarily bookmarking them to apply, you're bookmarking them for research. And when I say bookmarking, I'm adding them to my Teal tracker, but if you want to put them in Notion, Airtable, use a tool like Hunter, whatever. What I would say is like you want the JDs. And so if you're just doing like a Google sheet, you're linking to the JDs, but then that becomes kind of a lot of work. So I'm just going to go ahead and bookmark a few more. Now, the other thing I would do is try to do some searches where you ditch the job title altogether, because there really is no universal standard for how companies use job titles. So what I would do is bring up some advanced filters. And here I'm going to do something like keywords, and I'll do something like agile. And maybe I like amplitude. I want to use those tools. It's probably like a company. It's like a growth product managing role, amplitude. And I'll add that. And now I'll search results for those. And so now, sure, look, I'm still seeing things, but look, principal UX designer, maybe I could apply for something like that. Obviously these are a lot of product manager roles, but senior e-commerce product manager, head of product, I'm getting different titles that maybe I wouldn't have put in a head of product. But if we look at head of product here for this company, Black Spectacles, let's see, 12 years of experience, including 8 years in product management. Like, I don't know, maybe some people wouldn't have thought to apply for head of product role, and that wouldn't have come up. But if you're applying for director of product roles at, Series D startups or even like publicly traded companies, that would be a director, maybe even senior product manager. But now here's a head of product position. So titles are funny in that way. So I recommend using different skills and different attributes and almost leaving the title blank so you can discover. All right, and I'll go ahead and I'll bookmark this as well, just so it's in there. Now, what I would do is I would go to my tracker and start to understand these jobs a little more. So I'm going to use Teal to do that. Come over to my tracker. I forgot to say, we're Taylor Morris. A lot of our fake users are TM, Teal members. So that's kind of the theme. Tina Miller, Taylor Morris. I've got a few others. And so now in your tracker, what you can do is go in here and start to understand these jobs. I'm going to make my screen a teensy bit bigger. There we go. Hopefully that doesn't mess it up for you guys. And now you can look at these requirements. We are working to collapse some of this stuff. It takes a little too much screen space right now. But you can look at the requirements and you can understand those and you can see where those keywords are. And what you can do is, if you want, you can come over and group your keywords by category. So you can look at them by requirement, by section, because you can say, hey, what are the required things I need to cover? But then if you just group them by category, that's going to help you see what's got the most prevalence. So in here, like embeddings, okay, that's like AI related stuff, enterprise, or that might be embedding. I can see where it's showing up. Okay, I was right. It's AI, adoption of AI capabilities, embedding them in. Happen to be right for the wrong reason. But then I can see the things they care about. Managing backlogs, product management. And now this helps me understand, do I have these themes and these topics in my resume? And what I would do is go through these jobs and do that research. Another thing I recommend to people is like go to the bullets and just conceptually in your mind add a question mark at the end of it and use this almost like as a questionnaire for yourself. And then you can use that to create content on your resume. Teal makes that easier. I'll show you a little bit how to do that in a minute. But I think this research phase and understanding what the market wants is a really important process when you're kicking off your job search. All right, let me take a quick beat for questions and see how we're doing. Okay, I have the Discord up. Anything here? All right. Any questions in the chat? Quill's a great tool. Yep, highly recommend. All right, nothing in the chat yet. All right, great. I'm going to keep on going. All right, so now that you've done that research, and you understand the market and you've got those jobs in your tracker, however you're doing it, the next thing you want to focus on is your master resume. And master resume is a very powerful tool in the job search, but I think more broadly for the entirety of your career. And if you can get in the habit of maintaining and curating your master resume, brag book, achievement log, whatever you want to call it, I think it is a tremendous career asset. Teal is built on the foundational premise of a master resume, and that's, I'd say, like one of the key differentiators of our resume builder. So we're going to head over to that resume builder. And in here, we're going to create a new resume. Now, Tailor has already imported their existing content. You can do that by uploading a PDF, importing your LinkedIn, whatever helps you get the facts in there the easiest way possible, which is like your start dates and end dates of each position, and then you're going to kind of abandon that and really create all your content here. So what we want to do is make sure we've got coverage of everything we've ever done. And Teal has predefined sections. We don't have the ability to add new sections right now. So sometimes you might have to like hack it if there's a section we don't cover. But you want to make sure you have the most breadth possible of everything you've ever done. Because one of the tricky things with job searching is we have all these abilities. I'll speak for myself. I can edit videos, I can 3D model. But if I was going to go to, I went to architecture school for 7 years. And so I have all these abilities with graphic software. But if I was applying for a chief growth officer position today, like they probably wouldn't care that I have those abilities. And I think that's wasting space on the screen. But it is helpful for me to have that everywhere. Because I don't know, maybe I say I want to go back to being an IC and I want to be a 3D animator and make a career pivot. That's all there. So you don't want to lose all that stuff. You just want to be able to be selective of who you show it to. And a master resume is a great way to do that. So I've got my target titles, professional summaries. These are a little more relevant once I start to applying. But your work experience, the good thing about a master resume, again, is you're not curating and creating at the same time. Where I see a lot of people struggle with their resume is like, oh, what are the 5 things I include? In a master resume, you could have 20, 30, 50 bullets per position. That's totally okay. The more, the better, actually, because then you can see kind of what match you have and you don't have to recall all these things over and over again. So you want to add all those bullets. We'll talk about how to add some in a second. All your education, all your skills and interests, any certification you have. And you want to get all that stuff into your master resume. You don't have to be worrying at the time. It's like, oh, how am I going to get my resume to 1 or 2 pages? This isn't about that. Think of this as a database of everything you've ever done. All right. So any questions on the master resume and kind of its role in the job search process? Okay. Mark made a chat in the Discord. Great. Okay. Kristen just asked if you can make a second resume from scratch. The answer is no. We kind of don't, like, unlike a Google Doc or a Word doc, you have this database of everything you've ever done. And so kind of like fundamentally, the idea is that you're always leveraging that. Now, there's some ways to control like the information, and it's a little bit of a hack. What you could do is you could have, if you come over here, you could make well, there's actually 2 things. Sometimes it's managing all that content. If you come over here to content settings, you can default all content to off. So what I'm going to do here is make a new resume. That used to be much easier. We've kind of hidden it because people don't go to it that often. And you can go ahead and, turn everything off and kind of name this one, like blank starter. And then when you go back over to your resumes, you can just duplicate this one and kind of use that as a save as. And so what some people do is use like profile resumes just to kind of, okay, so I'm applying for product operations position and product manager positions. You have them as like preset configurations that you can then save as when you use that one. So you kind of use it as like a starter. Think of it as your sourdough for resumes. And so that's like a hack you could do, but all that data is there and you don't lose it. And oftentimes when people are asking for that, really what they're looking at is like the visibility, because you really don't want to lose all that content about yourself. I just kind of don't want to see it all the time. And we don't have a way to hide bullets. We've looked at ways to do that. So we'd love a little more like insights on what you're trying to achieve, and let me know if that kind of gives you the solution for now of what you're trying to solve for. Let me see. Yeah, I'll get into revisioning here in a little bit. Sarah brought that up. Okay, so now let's jump back into our resume here. And I'll go ahead and I'll call this one like master resume, because this is the one I'll use as the one that I always have things on, and I don't actually intend to make documents from it. And so when I go back over here, I'll just always call that one master resume. So let's go ahead and add content. Again, we're not like curating to a particular job. Those jobs we just bookmarked, we're using those to add content to our master. If you happen to like one of those and you want to apply to it, great, but we're not super focused on matching to that particular job right now. And now we're going to go ahead and add content. And the resume bullets are the bulk of your resume content. That's really where people want to read all, like things like skills and education and certifications. I usually think of that as like appendix, and they help build the case, but they're not the reason. So let's focus on bullets. We'll go ahead and add a bullet. And there's a few different ways you can add bullets. You can just write it. If you've got one that you want to just like free flow. I also highly recommend that you pair Teal with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever's working. Those tools give you like a ton more flexibility than we do. So it's a great complement to Teal. But we're going to go ahead and use Teal's native AI. It saves you a few clicks. Make this a little bigger so you can see them. And what it's going to do when it's recommending bullets is it's going to use the job title. Obviously, AI is not there with you for the entirety of your career. And so it is going to suggest things. Think of AI, and a lot of folks get a little maybe like creeped out by the hallucinations, but that's not what this is. Where we see a lot of people struggle with resume bullets, they don't remember what they did, they don't remember the way to structure them, and they look for templates and they look for examples, but the idea of like AI kind of generating them makes them think of it differently. Think that AI is just doing templates and examples, and then you get to pick. And so you can see here some examples and see, oh, which is the closest. And then within Teal, what you can do is you can edit it. We don't ever just like let you take it right in. You need to modify it. And so you can say, oh, well, yeah, for me, it was like 32%. And I actually did it within 18 months. Or I don't like the time component. I'm just going to erase it. You can do that. And you also can analyze that bullet. We have kind of like a checker for you against our rules. And it'll help you say, okay, this one has metrics. It has some things. So these are all here to guide you. We see this a lot in job search where people want like very binary rules, like yes, no. Job searching is a very human process. So we try to give you guidance and best practices, but ultimately we believe you're all smart and capable. And so use your judgment. If there's something we recommend that you disagree with, it's okay. Also, job searching is very contextual. What you would advise a recent grad versus a 30-year executive is very different. And so we have kind of tried to make like general advice, but so use your judgment. We try to guide you and help you on what's in there. So we'll go ahead and save that bullet. That's a way to add a bullet. Other ways are this Coach Me feature, which I really love. A lot of times people don't remember what they did. So this tool, again, using the position will help you think about some things you did. So yeah, sure, I did data-driven decision-making. And then it'll ask a follow-up question based on that. And you can see the kind of thing you did. And then it'll use that to generate bullets. And then again, you can pick and choose the ones that you like. I'm going to kind of go quickly through these. And we'll go ahead and add that. And what I would do is I would encourage you to get to 10, 15 bullets per position. Now you have lots of content and your master resume is starting to be really rich. And I like this saying, go slow to go fast. We'll go ahead and add another one. And this time we'll do it with keywords. Right? These would be keywords that are relative to this position. So you can just go ahead and add those. Again, it'll generate bullets for you. And then you can pick the ones that you like. Go ahead and use that one. Just save it. Now, the next thing I want to show is using the job description. So to do that, you need to match a job to the JD, to the resume. And so you come over to our job matcher mode, and it'll look at the jobs in your job tracker. It'll list the first few. You can search them as well, or you can search jobs within Teal right here. We'll go ahead and use that head of product at Black Spectacle. And you can now write bullets right from here. You can do it a couple different ways. If you see a particular keyword that you want to write a bullet on, you can say, okay, let's see, something like launch plans. I can click the pen over launch plans. You have to pick what position you want to add it to. I'll say I'll do it as my associate product manager at Airbnb. And now it's going to let you add additional bullets from the JD if you want. So there's amplitude. And now I can create bullets. Same interface, same flow, use bullet and save it. Now, you can do that from the positions as well. Say I wanted to add one in Associate Product Manager. When you do Write with AI, you do Job Description, which is now available as a tab here, and it's doing the exact same thing. It's just doing it in the position. So you can either do it from the JD, or you can do it in the AI writing. So you pick which bullet you want to respond to. Also, if you use keywords, now it's pulling keywords from the JD, or you can respond to a particular bullet within the JD. That's only available over here. That's not in this part of the tool. We tried to make this all keyword focused since that's what you were working on there. And so even though we're matching to a particular job here, what I'm saying is use the JDs as a way to fill out your master resume. And then if you wanted to just very quickly switch the job here in the settings, you can then switch the job to another one and just keep adding content. Eventually, when you're tailoring resumes per job you're applying to, you wouldn't switch the job. At least I wouldn't recommend that. Keep those saved per job you've applied to so you understand what it was and your match score. But in this particular case, we're just using jobs to help us create content and fill in our master resume. Right? I want to call out a couple other settings here. This little 3 dots are oftentimes hidden. You can group the keywords. You can see the JD as well in matching mode. You can also slide this if you want to make that a little bigger. You can see just the summary. We take every JD and we normalize them into responsibilities, requirements, and preferred qualifications. If you want to see the original job description, that's here as well. Sometimes those aren't as consistent depending on how we get the data, but that's there. And if you want to see keywords and the JD, or just the keywords, or just the JD, you can do that. And then how the keywords get grouped, you can either do it by job description section, so you can see, well, keywords have to be on to see that. So let's do keywords only. So what are the keywords that are in the requirements versus the job responsibilities versus the preferred, or if what we call category, what's a hard skill, soft skill, things like that. And it'll group those. And then you can also turn on and off the highlighting if that's a little overwhelming for you visually. And then any of your notes from your job tracker you can bring here, or if you want to go to that job in the job tracker, you can just jump right to it. And if you want to go back to the resume, it's here. You make that a few too many clicks. That's how you can get back to it. And so that's how I would use jobs to continue to fill out your master resume. And I would focus on, other things you can do. If there's like hard skills that you can just click a plus and that adds it to your skills section. So generally the skills section, I would use it for more like software names or very technical things, but this is a great way to bulk add those. Product lifecycle, yeah, sure, let me add that. Playbooks, let me go ahead and add that. And now those get added here to my skills section. So using JDs is a quick way to just, and I would say it's like be exhaustive. Anything get it in there, because you can always decide to turn it off and off later, but it's a great way to really bulk up your skills section. Again, when it comes to writing resumes for jobs you're applying to, you don't want that to be crazy big, but you do want that in that database so you can choose what to turn on and turn off, which we'll talk about a little bit later. All right, let me take a quick beat there for questions. Let's see. Okay. John says, what is the ideal match score you should have to finalize your resume? We'll talk about tailoring in a little bit. I'd say 60, 70% plus is a good thing. In a more nuanced way, we want to make our algorithm better, but you really want to make sure that you're covering more of those like requirements. And so I would look at almost like 100% coverage of the requirements and then be a little more selective in the others. I did just do a post on LinkedIn talking about how preferred qualifications in this market is probably the most important section, because there's a lot of talent on the market. And so companies have a little bit of their choice. And so you really want to get to almost like 100%. Now, what I would say is, be comfortable ignoring keywords. If we err on the like highlight more than less, sometimes that's a little bit annoying, but we want you to have the ability to ignore things. So feel comfortable just ignoring keywords that aren't relevant. And that should sometimes help with the keyword matching as well. All right. Christina just asked, does Teal also store the JD? Yeah, for sure. We have the original JD and then the summarized JD. So that's right here. You just go to summary only. That's the job description in the way that we've sort of translated it into consistency. But you can also go to original job description. That's how it was pasted in, or how we pulled it in for you from when we found it. So that's all here, quick and easy. Is that okay? Cool. Another way to bring in jobs. Let me just go ahead. Taylor Morris does not have a LinkedIn account. uh, let me try. I'll show you guys on mine real quick, just because those are other things you can do. So let me go ahead and remove that and bring my LinkedIn in. All right, so on LinkedIn, let me go ahead and share another screen. Yeah, so on LinkedIn, if you come over to jobs, let's go ahead and search for jobs here. Right, we want you to be able to get jobs in however you want. We're trying to make it really easy by having a job board, and you guys can test that. But if you add the Teal Chrome extension, and then you bring that out, jobs, it makes it really easy to save jobs to Teal. We do not scrape the page. We go and look for the public page. You're in total compliance with LinkedIn's terms of service. This was a big project for us this year to do that. And so it just goes and looks at the public page that's on the internet of that job, and then it pulls it into Teal for you. That's why it takes a couple seconds. And then if you go to your tracker, there it is. That job gets pulled in. Go ahead and close that. It's actually, they're still processing. There's the JD. And then if you want to see it as it was originally, you just go to original job description. And there it is, as it was originally seen. Again, that's what's public on the internet. It is not using actually what's on your screen at the time. So it keeps you in compliance with LinkedIn's terms of service. Alrighty. Let me switch back to the other. And that works. It should work on Indeed. It should work on a couple different job boards. It also works on career pages on most ATSs. We're constantly trying to add support, but our bigger effort is to just get all those jobs in Teal for you preemptively, so you can just search in one place. And that's a bigger active effort. Okay, let me do another quick. The job import function, the extension works super well. Oh, great. Thanks, Lance. We're trying. Let us know if it doesn't work somewhere. Yeah, being able to tag bullets. Yes, we need to do that. Yeah, Lance, you can ignore keywords. It doesn't do it at the account level. It does it at the job level. So if you've ignored a keyword, you need to ignore it again on a different job. We want to get better about that. But you can ignore them today. You hover over the keyword and just hit the little, I call it the no smoking sign. And that's how you can hide it. Okay. Is there a way to hide bullets? You can just turn them off. You can't hide them from the view. So that's something we want to give you eventually. It's like be able to hide them. But it just, we try to be careful to not make the overall interface just too complicated. And so once you have these like layers of filtering and tagging, and so we've been working on ways to try to do that. All right, I will jump back in here. Share my screen window. Okay. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is apply to a job and start to tailor. So the good thing is it's really not that different. We can take that job that we just pulled in. Oh, that was on my personal LinkedIn. That's why the Chrome extension's not pulling it in here, but that's how it would work. Like I said, Taylor doesn't have a LinkedIn profile. I could have gone to Indeed or something like that. So let's just go ahead and look for another job. Again, senior product manager. Now, when you use our job board, it will use all the contents in your resume to do a quick match score. They're computed on the fly, so unfortunately, we don't have the feature to just show you jobs that are high match. Hopefully, one day we'll have that. You also can use a feature I wanted to, it's an early beta feature, but I wanted to show it, which is our AI job search. And what it's going to do is use more of a natural language and AI to search jobs. You can also give it your your resume. So I'm going to use all my resume content, and I'm going to tell it, I'm looking for senior product manager positions that are at least 100K and remote. And so you can give it everything you want, But really, it's about being able to have a conversation. So imagine you have like a recruiter looking for jobs for you. That's what we aspire for it to be. Um, Give it a try. It's free. Um, it's not free for us. It's actually fairly expensive to run, but we want to do something pretty cool here. And so it might be a little slow sometimes. It's searching millions of jobs, and it's checking it against your resume. Um, but then you can like chat with it and do different things. What we don't want is it to just be like a job board. So here's some jobs already that it found for me. You can go into them, and same, it'll still give you that match score. It'll give you the job. You can go to it. You can make a resume from it. But you can also ask like follow-up questions on each individual job. Or you can do things like, what are the common benefits across all of these positions? And because it has all that data in there, it'll roll that up together for you. And then you could even though it's not like directly integrated with the resume builder, you can even tell it, based on the jobs that you found, what are 5 bullets I need to add to my resume. We'll try that right now. So here you go. It's like showed me that stuff. Very common, universal benefits. You can ask it to research a particular company. Let's try the resume bullet one so you can see that. I always like kind of putting this thing through its paces live. Based on the jobs you found, what are 5 bullets that I need to have on my resume? Eventually, we'll make it really easy for these to integrate. But see, it already knows my resume. And it's telling me, so here you go. It gave me some bullets. And what I would do is probably just like copy paste those into, again, I wish we would just like hover, make it really easy for you to do that. We'll get there one day. But at least it's got all that context and it can write those for you. And so give this tool a try. It's just at app.tealhq.com, AI-job-search. Or if you go to the job search, it's right here in this mode. So would love feedback when you get those little pop-ups of how we did. If you were satisfied, dissatisfied, let us know. It doesn't hurt our feelings. We want to make it really, really, really good. All right. So let's go ahead and apply to one of these jobs. We'll do it right from here. Let's try the senior product manager position. And so right here, I'll just click create resume. That's going to add it to my tracker, match it to a resume, and take me right into the resume builder. It's computing the keywords and it's thinking for a minute while it does that. So we highly recommend that you tailor your resume per job you apply to. And the more content you have on your master resume, the easier that is. If you're not using Teal, just what I recommend is have a Google Doc or a Word doc that is your resume already formatted in the template that you like. And then it just becomes really easy to just delete content. And as you add content, always do a save as, but always go back to that master. Start with that, have it have everything. And then it's just really easy to delete stuff as you tailor. And so you can totally do that with the Google Doc. You don't need, or any other resume building tool, honestly, if you're using Resi or Hunter or Simplify, just have this like one that's got everything. They don't generally have this like database. So you can just get around that by doing this like save as workflow and having one that's the master. And I really recommend that you have that. Again, it's a great career asset. All right, so now, we're not a great match for this position. We do have a tool. We've somewhat hidden it because it's a little dicey sometimes, to select the content. I think you have to initiate it from the job tracker right now. Emily can probably confirm that for me. But it'll then go in and select the content. But we're going to go ahead and do it manually here. So we're at a 10% score right now. We can see kind of what we're missing. Generally, what I would do here is I'd focus on the keywords. I'm going to just show keywords only. And I am going to hide stuff that I don't think is relevant. In this case, this is at a company that does events. So there is some language around live events. You decide whether you want that in the score or not. I'm going to keep it because obviously it's important to them and I'm going to look at it. But let's see things like, business objectives. Okay. Competitive analysis, computer science. That's probably a degree requirement. Offerings. I'm going to get rid of that. Go to market is twice. This is where our keyword tool, somewhat struggles sometimes with and without the dash. I'll just get rid of them because I don't think that matters. Events, evangelist, demos. I'm going to get rid of that. And also I would do the same for hard skills and soft skills and kind of go through and just do that initial cleanup. Then let's focus on adding in some content. We're not going to get ourselves to a super high score right now. But what you could quickly do is everything's got the highlighting on. So any bullet that doesn't have keywords in it right now, I'm just going to turn those off. Again, it's a little annoying. You have to do this by hand. We do have a tool that like tries to pick them for you. So, this job doesn't have very many at all right now. So I would turn those off. Now you can decide, I guess this was me testing at some point. Let's just go ahead and delete that bullet. And so when you delete bullets, it's going to ask you, do you want to delete it on all resumes? I'll show you a little bit of our revision workflow here in a second, but let's go ahead and add bullets. So now we're going to write a bullet. Again, same workflow. You can either do it by addressing key points in the job description, like bullets in the requirements or responsibilities. Sometimes this gets a little hung up. Oh, there it goes. So you can pick a particular bullet or you can use keywords. And so here I'll do user stories, business needs, customer experience, generate a bullet. Pick the one that's like most close to something you've done before. Feel free to modify it, save it, and you can see our score starts to work our way up. You can also do that from here. And what you would do, and let's see, again, the good thing about it being in your master resume, when you now go to apply to other jobs, all that content's there already. So the first few might take you a little longer, but once you start to get in a rhythm, and if jobs are similar enough, this should be faster. Again, it's a little bit of this go slow to go fast mentality. The first few will take a little longer, but all that content is in one place and you can leverage it. I'll just add a couple more from here and save it. And I'm not going to make you guys sit through me getting this up to an 80%, 90% score. But that's kind of how you would go through that process and you would leverage that. All right, we're at the 20 till mark. Let me go ahead and do a little look for questions. All right. The revision workflow. Okay, cool. I'll talk about revisions now. Got you, Mark. Can you import import of contacts via LinkedIn? We don't have that anymore, Lance. We used to, but that was, by doing that with Teal, you're violating LinkedIn's terms of service. And obviously we don't want anyone to lose their access to LinkedIn. So we don't have that feature anymore. We weren't allowed to do that. So you have to just like manually type it. The extension will come up. It's just a form and you need to manually copy paste that information. We used to have it. It was pretty cool. But we were told we weren't allowed to do that. Let's see. Okay, cool. I think I got through most of them and some of the other ones. Oh, the interview practice feature. Yep, I will get to that. Okay, cool. Let's work our way through the process. All right, we're back here. Let's see. We also have this account is upgraded right now. Most of the stuff I've shown you can do for free. The bullets, you can do 5 for free. Analysis is fully gated. It's really kind of like a checklist of things to look out for, but here it's going to just kind of look over our recommended best practices. I think you can decide what matters. We do have these like time-based things. It's very much a Teal thing. I think it's very much a me thing. I think being able to say, like, I wrote a lot of these rules, that you did it in X amount of time makes it punchier, but that's really kind of like a nice to have. So if you're using this and these are bothering you, it's okay. Just disregard them. Then, just to wrap up here, I'm a big fan of target titles. I generally think what you should do is just match the title that's on the JD. It's a way for you to show that you are what they're asking for, especially if you haven't had that title before. And then next is a professional summary. It's a quick, easy way to tailor things. It'll use what's turned on. So I would just make a new one and write with AI, and it'll pull all the relevant content. What it tries to do is aggregate up your metrics. And you can tweak it, of course, save it, and get that in there. And then if you want to change your resume, there's a few things in our design mode that you can adjust that are sometimes not obvious. It defaults to our recommended best practices, but there really is no such thing as, a perfect best practice. So you can kind of do what you like. And there's a few things I want to cover. You can change the templates. We have some others, and we generally recommend a 1 column. If you want to do 2 column, go for it. might result in some like parsing challenges, but generally it's fine. Most ATSs will give a PDF preview. I like to kind of show the default like Google Docs one. Where is it? We have one like that. A couple different cool ones. Where'd that one go? Oh, here it is. There's like well, actually Google Docs changed their whole template system, so I don't even know if that's there anymore. But you can pick, any of these. It'll just quickly apply those settings for us. We'll go ahead and use that template. None of it is destructives, because that's the nice distinction also between your data and your presentation. So you can change these if you want to try different templates for different things. And then those go into your templates. You can change your line height, your spacing, your colors, your date format if you want to just show years only, header alignment, things like that. You can change date alignment if you prefer that on the right, location alignment if you want that on the right, skills. Personally, I like a comma separated list of skills. I think it's super punchy and compact. A lot of people don't. So if you want it as columns, you can do that. If you want to do 4 columns, you can do that. And then your paper, if you're in Europe or someone that uses metric, you have A4, and then you can change your margins. So that's just like basic setup. You probably don't go back to that very much. If you want to reorder your sections, you can do that here. If you've recently graduated school and you want to put your education at the top, you can do that. This is all stored on a per resume basis. So this is another benefit to doing a save as or a duplicate resume. And that way it'll inherit it. But all that can be changed. It's going to only show whatever's turned on. Right now, I have content turned on in every single section, so they're all here. But that's how you reorder it. And this is also one of like the Teal hacks. If you say wanted to make this, the fields are right, but the section's not named, you can go ahead and just rename it here. Some people don't like work experience. They just like experience. You can click that, change it, and save it. And it'll show you the original name so you know how it maps to the interface. Then settings. There's a couple here that are kind of important. This is the big one, the show work experience by. Some folks don't like positions nested under the company. They prefer to have company first. So when you do that, it's going to put position, then company. I think it takes more space personally. I don't like it, but I don't think it really matters. So you'll see that the company is under each position. Then the other thing that a lot of people see is like, hey, where are my dates? My dates are in each position on my master resume, but they're not showing up this way. And that's because we show dates by company. The reason is we like to maximize tenure. So from the first possible date to the last possible date, it shows, generally people like tenure. But again, that's up to you. I don't think that's going to make or break. So if you do want to show dates by position, you just click here and then it'll show the dates by position. If for some reason you wanted to show both, which I strongly recommend against, you could. I think that's super confusing, but you can do it by position. Again, why I prefer by company is because say someone's just like skimming and doing the kind of quick F, they don't realize that these were all at Spotify. Even if you did this by position, show work experience by position, even though it's repeated, they might just quickly assume that you were job hoppy and these were short tenures. So that's why I prefer it. But again, I think if the content's great, they're going to read it, and that's not going to be a reason that they don't talk to you. That's usually something that comes after the fact, honestly. Like first they look at the content and then they look at tenure. But up to you entirely what you want to do. That's how you control that here. And then you can do some of the similar grouping stuff on your education section. And then there's some advanced settings. These are all Teal Plus. You can change them when it's free, but it will block you from exporting it if you tweak too many of these. But then you can change, you can really kind of go crazy with all the things you want to do. If you want to change the headings and lines and all sorts of stuff, and it's kind of fun to play with. But I won't spend too much time on the presentation here. And then once your resume is ready to go, if you do want to make a cover letter, you can quickly write one. You can change some of the settings, and it will use the exact same style. So they will look the same visually, and it's going to take the JD, it's going to take the active content, and it's going to generate a cover letter for you. And again, it's going to match visually exactly the same, use your same heading, same font, all that good stuff. You can change the content here, and it'll be there. Feel free to change it, modify it. You can also paste one in from ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini if you'd like, and it'll inherit the style. One thing to note is cover letters are to the resume. So if you match a new job, you lose it. It's not great. We should have a better solution for that. But just kind of FYI, the cover letter is a bit more ephemeral in that sense. So if you do rematch to a new job, you lose it, which is not awesome. We should do a better job. It's more of a warning. That's something that we want to fix. And then once you're ready to go and you're going to apply to this job, you're going to export it. You can export as an individual resume and cover letter PDF, or you can merge them together. We'll just go ahead and merge them. Actually, most applications want them separate, so I'll just go ahead and export resume. We'll do a little match check for you here. Again, ignore it. Here's something, if you have it in your tracker and you're using our tracker, go ahead and move the job to applied, so you don't have to do that twice. Technically, you want to do it after you hit the apply button, but save you a click, export, and you'll have a PDF, and it's fully parsable. The check you want to do is can you highlight the text, and so that all ATS compliant, ready to go PDF. And then right within matching mode, we actually have you can go to the job tracker, and we have the original link there from where you bookmarked it. Apply to the job. Lucky us, this one's Workday. So you go ahead and fill that out. And then, now you start to manage your process. All right. That's applying, getting the application out. We have now on the Teal home, we actually have a new home that some of you have in beta. I couldn't get this account to turn onto it, but it's basically the same stuff with a few more metrics, but highly recommend giving yourself an application goal. Setting a cadence, really focus on what you can control. How many applications you can do a week is something you entirely control. Bookmarking is kind of passive. You haven't really put anything out into the world. So I would say set a goal, whether you think of it daily or weekly. We goal it weekly here. So if you want to do 1 a day, 2 a day, give yourself a goal and really try to get those out. I'd say try to front load them in the week as much as you can, but get in the habit of looking at jobs every day, seeing what's going on in the market, and then applying. We do have a new alerts feature coming out. Hopefully that'll be in beta next week. And so you'll set criteria as long as you do a saved search, which you can do here, saved searches. We'll send you alerts as soon as we get jobs. So when our platform gets jobs every hour, we're actually onboarding a new job data provider next week. So we should have a much broader set of jobs. And so some of them will come in every day, but you should be able to get alerts and tweak them for how you want. So you can be first to apply, and that'll be totally free. And those should be out next week. So join the Discord. That's really where we publish all our new features and everything. We try to sort of give real-time info. We're doing like more alerts and pop-ups through the platform as well, and we email, but sometimes finding the stuff is tricky. So the Discord is probably like the fastest way to hear from us. All right, I will take a quick beat there before we jump onto the other things. I'm starting to run short on time, so I'm gonna have to go into like turbo speed here. Let's see. Emily's answering a bunch, so that's great. Header titles, yeah, we just talked about that. Hopefully you saw that, but I'll just show it again real quick. In a resume, you go over to the designer, sections, and then you can rename these with a little pencil. You can rename any of the headers. So if you wanted to sort of co-opt it for something else, you totally could do that. It doesn't care. So say you wanted to use projects for something else because these data fields work for you, or you wanted to reuse publications, right? These are the fields. Well, it says publisher, but that doesn't even show up on this screen. So you can sort of treat that as company or organization if you wanted to, and then just rename that heading. It's a bit of a Teal hack. Yes, I know this will go to since this is streaming to YouTube, this recording will be on YouTube as soon as we end the live stream. So that'll be there. Colors, we have not of the whole thing, but in here you can change. We have this accent color. You can change that, or you can use a color picker for whatever color you'd like. Each template has different things that it considers accent. So like this one has it in these headings. This one has it in a couple different places. I think there's like 3 or 4 like system level templates that you can then modify, and we've got versions of. And you can use some filters here to kind of go through them. All right. And I can stick around a little bit after. I just want to make sure I hit all the core content. So, all right, you've applied, which is again the bulk of the work, and that's entirely what you control. get those applications out, get on a good cadence. I'd say look for jobs that you're a high match for, focus on tailoring. I'd say we strongly recommend quality over quantity. Now you've got jobs in your tracker. You want to get into a process of pruning and maintaining your backlog. You can use the tracker to just quickly see the jobs you've applied to, everything you've bookmarked. You can group them by status. You can actually rearrange the columns. You can turn on and off the things you want to see on a regular basis. So the job tracker really helps you stay organized in that way. And, we're gonna say we got selected to start interviewing for this head of product at Black Spectacle. And so you want to track that. And so what you're going to see down here is you can start to add your interviews, and you can do that individually. But we're in our first interview, it's on Friday. It's a initial screen, and it's a video interview. And what we can do with this, since Teal has all of the JD information, we can start a new practice session. So we'll go ahead and do that. I need to enable it. So allow while visiting this site. So that's a little preview of me. I don't think you guys can hear it back, but you'll be able to see the transcription. So we'll go ahead and start this. I'm doing great. How are you? So I wanted you guys to be able to see the transcription of what I was saying, because I'm pretty sure you guys can't hear it. But yeah, I can tell it tell me about myself, and it kicks off, and it's using the JD to set it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this practice, and then it'll give me feedback on that. And so it's going to use that JD and score it, and so it's going to give you a transcription. It's going to give you some feedback, and that's right within the job tracker. You can also test and practice other things. So if you come over here to all tools, there's actually a bunch of stuff in Teal that we've kind of hidden to make it, well, we haven't hidden it, but we just sort of tucked it away. So it's a little less overwhelming for new users. But over here, we have interview practice. And so you can see any jobs that are in the interviewing stage will be here, but you can also do kind of generic scenarios, like tell me about yourself, questions that people might ask, how do you handle conflict? And so it's the same exact interface, and it'll give you feedback. This tool is actually pretty expensive for us to run. So it's a lot. I think you can get like 2 practice interviews and 5 practice hub questions. After that, it's Teal Plus. But we'll go back over to our tracker, our Black Spectacle. So we would be working through, you get another interview, keep tracking them, keep doing interview practice sessions depending on the stage. You can also tell, it's actually, it's pretty malleable. You could tell it, hey, I want to practice on this, and it'll reorient itself. But there's also other ways you can do this. ChatGPT has an amazing voice mode now. Gemini has an amazing voice mode now. So again, like we have it built in, but if you don't like ours, or not on Teal Plus, still practice interviewing. I think it's something that people are kind of uncomfortable with. And AI, this is a fantastic AI use case. And the more you can practice and get comfortable, talking about your successes and articulating these things, and really kind of having it grill you, I think is a really, really good use of AI, and I highly recommend it. So you're going to work your way through this, update your things. If you have any notes, add them. We also have some email templates as follow-ups that are in here that you can use. So those are there. You can copy paste them. I think you get one for free, and then there's like some of it gets gated per stage. We also have guidance. So for each stage, there's kind of this like checklist of things you can do. We have those at every step. It's really just to kind of help you stay on track. We have a little bit of a redundancy between this guidance and this checklist. We're going to clean that up here soon. Any feedback you guys have on the job tracker, let us know. We're starting to really focus on making this better. And you're going to work your way through, and then you're going to get an offer, and you're going to come over to the negotiating phase. And there's a cool feature that's kind of tucked away. If you come over here to this compensation tab in the job tracker, it's aggregating up jobs, in your tracker and showing you what it's seeing as patterns in min-max comp, years of experience, and it kind of gives you this heat map of what's happening of everything in your tracker. It's kind of tucked away. Most people probably haven't seen this one, but it's kind of neat for that negotiating. And then we have this offer analysis where you can actually upload your offer. Let me see if I have an old one. I don't have an offer right now, but it's kind of like as if you paste it into ChatGPT and talk with it, and it gives you like a full structured analysis of it. I may have one. I'm pretty sure I have one here on my computer. Let me see if I can find one real quick. Found it. So it's going to upload it, and then what it's going to do is it's going to structure your offer for you, and it's going to articulate all the things that it's found in a very structured way, and then you can chat with it. I actually haven't tested this feature in a while. It's kind of a beta, but give it a whirl. And once you get into that stage, it can help you with that. But again, you can do this by just pasting your offer letter into ChatGPT or Gemini, ask it questions. It's really about how you prompt it. The benefit here is like a lot of that stuff's embedded in it. But use AI for these things. It gives you a ton of leverage. And so here, it shows me the title, the start date, who I report to, stuff like that. Does it have some of these benefits of health insurance, and sort of really structures it into all the things you want to look for in this kind of like offer letter checklist. Seems like this is kind of thinking hard. There it goes. So now I could chat with it and ask it questions, like, do I have a non-compete? Again, you can do these things with ChatGPT. I highly recommend you do that. Just kind of trying to have it all in one place for you. All right. For the purposes of time, I will jump back to my tracker, and then we're going to negotiate. We're going to get what we want, and we're going to move that job to accepted, and your job search will be over. All right. I would say it's really not over. You want to prepare, start to do all your preparations for your first 90 days and make sure it goes great. But that is, and you're going to wash, rinse, repeat, every day. Add new jobs to your tracker, start to tailor your resumes. I think of like a 2-to-1 ratio of bookmark to apply. When you add stuff in your shopping cart, like in Amazon, you're not necessarily going to buy everything unless you're my mom, who has a shopping addiction. But bookmark them, review them, and then say like half of them, you say, okay, I'll apply. But the good thing is you're learning and you're seeing what the market's doing, and you're sort of keeping a process. And then the ones you didn't apply to, archive them. If you don't hear back in a few weeks, just archive them and keep that clean and keep that cadence and set goals and, stick to it. Really, cadence and pace in job search are kind of everything. All right. I will switch over to questions now. I'm happy to do any sort of open Q&A. I'll stop sharing for now. Put myself here so I can look at the camera. All right. Let's see. I have StreamYard, and I have the Discord. Let me see. Mark made a Discord channel for this. Where browse channels, there's a new channel. I can't find it right now, so I don't want to make you guys watch me struggle through that. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Marcy. Thank you for all your feedback in the past. Excited you're here. Let's see. Noting for posterity. Oh yeah, Cameron, we've gotten that feedback before, that it's actually helpful for that. It helps people stay on track. As a sort of fellow spicy-brained person, these things help me in that way. So yeah, I'm glad it's helpful for folks that struggle with some of the executive function things. I think we can do even more, and we're going to look for more ways to like help with accountability and reminders and things like that. Oh, great. Thanks you, Marcy, on the interview tracking. Yeah, there's a reason that it's not a status, because it's, companies can have different numbers of interviews. So we wanted to kind of do something that was a bit more open-ended. And so that's why it's nested underneath in the interviewing as a stage. Okay. Oh, wow. Mark has found every nook and cranny of Teal. So the fact that I covered something he hadn't seen before is awesome. Happy about that. All right, I feel like I'm getting back to some of the older stuff already. Okay. Overcritical is good. You know, we like that's how that's how we try to make it better. So Jamie, keep it coming. We're a little team. We can't get to everything as much as we'd like. There's 4 engineers, sort of myself and Matt on the design side, and Emily is trying to answer all your questions the best way she can, and oftentimes covering up for features that we're missing through her very kind intercom responses with everyone. All right, let me see. Webinar chat general, found it. Okay, cool. No chats in there yet. Let's see. But join the Discord. We can also absolutely keep a lot of this conversation going after the fact. So please do that. The revision process. All right, cool. Thanks, Mark. Let me show that. All right, this is a little complicated to explain. This feature is very well intentioned. So let me show how it works. Okay, so this is one of the ways to get around having a lot of bullets. So by default, you might think that you just duplicate the bullet, right? So like say this one, I like it, I want to use it on this job, but let me just go ahead and duplicate it, which you have by just clicking this little duplicate, and I'll modify it a little bit. It's mostly the same bullet, but in this case, I'll say like strategy. And so it's like almost the same exact bullet. And that really starts to gum up the works on your master resume. And so what you can do when you modify a bullet, let me go ahead and delete that. And I'm just going to call this resume A, so it's a little clearer. I'll go ahead and edit this bullet. And by default, we uncheck save to all resumes. And so I'm going to call this, I'll say strategy. And it's not checked save to all resumes. That checkbox is only there when you have more than 2 resumes in Teal. When you only have one, we hide it just so you don't have to think about it. So we'll go ahead and save it. And now if I go over to one of my other resumes, let's just go to this one. We'll call this one resume B. It did change it. There might be a bug here because it changed it to product strategy. Let's try it again. Let's go ahead and change that. Let's call that roadmap. Save it. Now I'll go back to resume A. There we go. So sometimes if like there's some like very unnecessarily complicated logic around like if the bullet's not on or it's never been edited before. So I'll kind of talk about it in the intent of it. But now I can see that there's an update available on here. That means it got edited on another resume and it didn't get pushed out. So if I click update available, it's going to show me. Unfortunately, it doesn't highlight the difference. But product strategy is the current version and the updated version is product roadmap. And so I can say save updated version to this resume, essentially like make current. And if I do that, it does it. Now, if you want to go like propagate that out to every single resume, you'd have to kind of go resume by resume. For some reason, this one inherited it. We can try to kind of replicate that right now on why that was happening. But you could, this same one, now I can go edit it and I'll change this to strategy, or here, just so we're totally different, roadmap and strategy. And if I check save to all resumes, now that's going to push that out to all resumes. And so that's the idea, is that you can override it for a particular resume. And then if you want, you can load it in. And so it's this whole like kind of block level versioning system that tries to give you as much control as possible. But it can get a little funky in some cases. But so the idea is that you have this kind of master, and if you needed to make just like one tweak instead of duplicating a bullet and then just having so many unnecessary duplicates, you can do a revision on a per resume basis. And that's how the revisioning works. Does that answer your question, Mark? So I'm trying to catch up here. Oh, adding tags to bullets. Yeah, I know. But my big thing, so we need to workshop that. My big concern is just like this interface is already kind of a lot for people. So if we started to have like little tags under each bullet, my one idea I had was like when you edit a bullet, it's like over here, you get like all the metadata on bullets. Yeah, maybe we workshop that. We can do like a sort of member advisory session on that, because that's always just been my concern, is that the interface is already so much for a lot of people. At least that's some of the feedback we get. How do we do that in a way? I don't know, maybe you could like toggle them in the menu, like turn on tags and turn off tags. Also even like looked at like how you could just hide bullets, but then knowing which ones you have. I thought about like collapsing those as like hidden bullets, so they like go under so you don't lose it and you don't end up making content that you already had. So some tricky things there. Well, yeah, now you can go and implement revisions, Mark. All righty. Again, I invite you all to join the Discord. Yeah, I'll just share that real quick so you guys can see that. Let me stop sharing here. This is what the Discord looks like. If anyone's never used Discord before, it's just kind of like Slack, a little different, but it's these threads and these conversations, and there are these channels, and you can chat with us. And we try to respond as often as we can. I'll try to jump in myself directly. I gave Mark an audio message the other day. It doesn't transcribe them, unfortunately, so maybe I'll try to figure out a better way to do that. I know Apple voice notes do, so maybe if I do them that way, I can do both. But I try to sort of answer these as I'm on the run. So yeah, we want to get as many people in here as we can, not to grow it, but so that we can help each other. And I think rising tides lifts all ships in this way. So please join, and we can interact with you as quickly as possible. But we're also very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so we can try to engage there, ask us questions, and then use the support channels as needed. We really, really value the feedback, and we want to help everyone get the most out of Teal. And we know a lot of the features are kind of buried and tucked away in different places, but there's really a lot in there. And so a lot of times people ask for things that actually are possible. We just didn't do a great job of making it obvious. So we can also make YouTube content and different things to try to address all these things. So any other questions? Let's see here. All right. I'll do a quick little promo for next week. We are doing live resume reviews. It's a little bit of a way to show our gratitude. For anyone not in the States, we have Thanksgiving over here. And so it's a way for us to say thanks to you for joining and being a member of Teal. And I will be doing live resume reviews. I'll see if I can coerce Emily into come on camera and do a few with me. But submit your resumes. I think we've got a couple different ways that you can do that. We're sort of booking 10-minute slots. We will anonymize them. So obviously we don't want your personal information being shown. We'll probably just put like black boxes over the header. We won't anonymize the companies and titles, but we will hide your contact info. And I'm just gonna go through them. If you want to come on camera and talk about it, that'll be totally fine. Or we can chat about it. We can do it in a private DM. We understand the sort of anonymity on job searching sometimes. That's why we're using live streaming instead of webinars. So you don't even have to create an account. You can join these anonymously if you want. We want to make sure that this resource is and Teal is available for everyone, sort of regardless of your sort of career situation. So thanks for being members. Thanks for joining. Let us know how we can continue to make these better for you. And feedback on the webinar is also super welcomed. I have a little bit of a different style than Bogdan. I am going to try to incorporate like slides and a few more things, because I think he does a really great job. Mine, I tend to be a little more shoot from the hip, and I think I need to be a little more Bogdan in some of my stuff. So feedback is super welcomed. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see some of you next week. If I don't, have a wonderful holiday next week, and we'll see you soon. Best of luck with your job search. Thanks for joining. Oh, I will answer Rob's question, just so anyone else. There really isn't versions of Teal, Rob. We occasionally do beta things, and so if you opt into the beta, you get it, but everyone kind of gets everything in Teal for the most part. All right. Thanks, everyone. See ya.